Brumman School Board. To order, please. The first thing we're going to have is roll call. Mr. Adams?
Mr. Petrie.
Here.
Ms. Terry.
Here.
Mr. Ray. Here. Mr. Hofer.
Here.
Mrs. Frola.
Here. Ms. Riley? You good? Yeah, I'm okay. All right. We're going to start with presentations. You want to introduce?
Sure. So we have a couple presentations tonight. So the first presentation is going to be from Mr. Basco. This summer he took a group of kids to Europe, and they did a World War II student trip. So unfortunately, some of the kids couldn't be here today, so Mr. Basco is going to share some pictures.
All right, thank you. The students that we took to Europe, you know, the social studies teachers, we all understand the importance of this information, but we also want the kids to learn from it like in a very visceral way, a way that they'll remember forever. So I went on this World War II trip, I kind of created it, and we did all these wonderful experiences through the city, and as we went on, the kids learned more and more. If you hold it right there just for a second, this Imperial War Museum in London is one of the most important museums in the world. And it was fascinating to the kids because they've never seen stuff like this in person. Go ahead, please. The kids couldn't be here today. Most of them are working, but I have many comments that they wanted to share. Right there's a piece of the Red Baron, and this is a piece that was flying on the Chancellor Building when the Soviets took Berlin in 1945. What we wanted to do was create a place where the kids could go and see these things and get a better understanding of the real impact. We went on the underground here. This is in London, and everything so far, the kids were absolutely amazing on this entire trip. Can you hold it right there for a second? I don't know. I'm not really a fan of the Royals, but some people are. There are two flags that fly over Buckingham Palace. The Union Jack, which is the one that everybody recognizes, and then this one, you can't quite see it, but it's got 4 squares, and that means King Charles or the Queen, whoever it is at the time, he was just became King Charles, he was now in residence. So go ahead, please. So the kids are learning, and this was fun. You can see the kids on the bus. Here they are eating dinner, and then early on, this is what they did most when we were stopping because of all the length of the trip was very, very hard. I'll hold it right here for a second. Everybody thought that was, this right here is where I want you to hold it. No, go back and go forward one more. And this one here's the Tower of London. I didn't know if you guys knew this, but Ohio is TikTok famous around the world. We were running into classes, and my group of students there, the Springfield kids were very lively. They were the ones that introduced themselves to every group of kids that went by. Well, we had a small group of kids, and they were from Germany, and they asked us where we were from, and I said, Ohio, and every single elementary kid started laughing. And they all started saying, Ohio, Ohio, and apparently Ohio is TikTok famous for absolutely nothing happening there. so the kids were like, well, here we are, and we enjoyed it. Go ahead, please. The car is for Adrian. He loved the cars that they had there. We rode on the underground. So we had a really nice start, and now we're going to slow down a little bit as we get into Normandy, which was one of the highlights of the trip. So we enter through Ouistreham, which is in northern France. And then we went to the beaches themselves. And this was a really interesting moment for me and the kids because as you see these next couple pictures, you've seen them before on videos, but when the kids were walking through and they saw these impact craters from when the 2nd Ranger Battalion landed, Muhammad was hiding. I told him to poke his head up, but the kids were absolutely amazed. Like to actually be there where the American soldiers were was an unbelievable experience for them. Now here, hold this one here. You guys have seen this picture before, the images, but the one on the right, what they do every early June, and my kids love this, as they're wandering around, we ask them, what's this for? Every June they walk around with sand from the beach, and they rub it into the name so that it pops out like that.
Oh, wow.
And any time a visitor comes to one of their family's grave sites, they do that. So our kids, again, were fascinated by this. It's a really overwhelming experience. Thank you. Go ahead. That's just more pictures of this is at Omaha Beach. Now, this was a really interesting educational piece. This is the German cemetery, which many of you may not have known existed. Go to the next slide. You'll see it's definitely different, isn't it? It's very kind of plain and kind of roughed out. And one of the interesting things I'm going to point out to my students this year, and I know Mr. Graves is here, he does do the same thing. Those grave sites, almost every one of them said 1925, 1926, 1927. The Germans were 17, 18, 19 years old. They were very, very young. This gives you an idea of what the American soldiers faced as they were coming up. It's a long beach. And of course, we have sand from our trip that somebody's got taken at customs because it looked like it was, might have been drugs or something. It was just sand. It was just sand. More of the museums that we went to go see. Oh no, by the way, when you're in Europe, there have places like Rouen, which is where, Joan of Arc was burned at the stake 500, 600 years ago. You're surrounded by history. So we went to the Palace of Versailles. So this is nonstop. I'm making the kids do all these different things to really try to get a great experience on this trip. Beautiful, ornate places. The kids were wild, but it was packed. We were told it wasn't that busy, but it really was. Now we finally made it to Paris. The Eiffel Tower we really enjoyed that night cruise there. It was really wonderful. And then this was the highlight for me. If you guys have been a fan of Band of Brothers, or if you've ever watched it, this was for me. I said, we're going here. So the kids are like, okay, we're learning a little bit more. I need you to pause it here for a minute. This man's name is Henry Mignon. He was 9 years old during the Battle of the Bulge. He went to school one day, and this was after the Americans had liberated. His particular village was just north of Bastogne. He and his 3 brothers and sister and his father and mother lived on a farm about 10 minutes north of Bastogne. So, everybody's excited. The Allies have liberated the place, and then all of a sudden, the Germans start coming back. He goes to school, and we all love to hear this for different reasons. He said, we're all going home now. This was early in the morning. The teacher said, go home and stay in your homes. And so he did at 9 years old. At 9 years old, and then all of a sudden, they could hear just this horrendous crashing sound as the Germans were advancing. They come in, they take over the place, and then they leave. And when they left, they took all the water out of the well. And I tell you that because Henry and his family were inside the house. His dad went outside to go get some snow to make a beverage. When the Germans started shelling again to retake Bastogne, or try to, they took his village. As they were moving into Bastogne, his father was hit with a shell and got shrapnel in the chest. And it was so rewarding for me to have my students listen to this guy speak, because they were riveted by what he was telling them. And his dad was hit with shrapnel in the chest, walked a few yards home, kissed all of his children on the head, and then fell over dead. And this was at 9 years old, the trauma that children have faced around the world. And this is what I wanted our kids to see. Like, we don't have experience of this magnitude, but we all, in Springfield, Lakemore, in all of our homes, we've had trauma. And it was so impactful to have this gentleman speak to us. What happened next, an SS officer came in, and he was looking for Germans. And what are you looking for Germans for? Well, the SS were involved with a massacre a month ago in France from the 2nd SS Battalion, Panzer Battalion. And so they were terrified. The regular Germans told Henry and his family, watch out for the SS. Now, the regular German the Wehrmacht soldiers were fine. They were trying to win them over. But the SS were different. Eventually, they were off school for a whole year, and they went back to school. 2 of his friends were killed by unexploded ordnance. Pardon me. But when the Americans came back and liberated the place, the Americans kept wanting to give them their chocolate, and it was really hard to eat, but the kids loved it, and they kept asking Henry, so, hey, where's all the schnapps? Where's all the schnapps? So that's what the American soldiers were looking for, and he fell in love with America and Americans. And to this day, when you go to Bastogne, these people that are in that South, they were so welcoming to our kids and to me. They were just like, thank you guys for being who you are as Americans and for coming over here. It was just an amazing story. He's still with us. He was real good friends with Don Malarkey from Band of Brothers, who passed away, I think it was in 2017. The last member of Easy Company passed away just last year. Go ahead, please. Thank you for letting me speak about him, because he was such a moving person. In Band of Brothers, there's a woman who's a nurse who was killed on Christmas Eve. She was a real person. That's where she was buried. This is in the woods just outside of Foy. He was telling the story of the 101st Airborne, and now we're looking out at the battlefield there. Amazing trip. And the kids all this while are learning more and getting more, and now they're at the cemetery, another cemetery, really, really big cemetery, the Henry Chappelle Cemetery, beautiful place. More for the kids to see just the sacrifice, and you'll see in the next picture, look at this. I mean, these are Americans, and it was really overwhelming for the kids. To see it on video is one thing, to be there was amazing. This handsome young guy is me. The other one is, I always imagined that would go over better than it did. This young, can you go back to that real quick? I want my fellow teachers to see. That's David Prock. He was an exchange student who traveled across Germany to meet us there in Cologne, just to say hi, and he wanted to send a message back home to Springfield, how much he loved his teachers and how much he loved his experience at Springfield. So that was a really wonderful thing. That's the Cologne Cathedral. Go ahead and go on to the next slide. I know I'm probably going too long. I apologize. That's the cathedral in World War II. The Allied bombers used that as a target to move on to their other locations. I just took a picture of the train because it ended up going like 280 kilometers per hour. High-speed rail is a good idea. I wish America would adopt. You get there in no time. That's the Reichstag building in 1945, and there it is today. The Berlin Wall, our artists in our school, I would love to have seen this. Absolutely amazing. The kids were blown away by the wall. Just more pictures of it. They have future generations planned to paint more things on that wall there. But the Brandenburg Gate and our Springfield students, Joey has the same look on his face the whole time. I wish he could be here. I'm so sorry that he's not here. Checkpoint Charlie. We have a Checkpoint Charlie in Springfield High School. It's right outside Mr. Graves and Mr. Benson's room. Kids going one way are entering Russia or East Germany, and if they're going the other way, they're going to West Germany. I'll let you guys figure out who's who. That's Checkpoint Charlie today and in 1961. Really amazing. The kids were blown away because they didn't really, Cold War doesn't get a lot of publicity except in our classrooms. In Berlin, this is now where it gets a little bit more somber. We're entering the Jewish quarter, and the buildings have been untouched as a reminder of how terrible the war was. This, if you could pause it here for just a second, the Memorial of the Murdered Jews of Europe, this is the actual name of it. And when it was first created in 2005, the people of Berlin hated it. They're like, what kind of memorial is this? If you ever get to Berlin, and there's videos on YouTube which you can take a look at it, this is when you start on the left. It's hard to understand what's going on. But as you go in, they close in on you, and all the sunlight is disappearing, and you start to get that awkward sense of something really bad. It's very troubling. And so what it ended up being, at first they weren't so sure about it, now it's a really amazing memorial. And our kids were just blown away by seeing it and just being out in the open with it. It was really something special for the kids. Go ahead. This is, as you can read down there, the Jewish cemetery and former site of the SS Center where 50,000 Jews were sent to Nazi concentration camps. Stop here, this is an important piece right here, this one. I was walking through Berlin with my kids, and one of my kids kicked something, and he was, Mr. Moscow, what's this? I didn't know. When you pass a house or a building in Berlin, and they're spreading it around to other German cities, they have these markers, and they're raised a little bit so that you'll trip on them just a little bit, so you'll look down and notice. These were the Jews who lived in these buildings prior to being deported and murdered. And as you can see, murdered in Auschwitz, murdered in Auschwitz, murdered in Auschwitz. deported, fled from Prague, fled from Austria, and then eventually sent on. And this was such a powerful reminder for our kids because that's not something that they're used to seeing. Like, why would you want to keep bringing that up? But it's that pain and that suffering that the kids understand to learn to make a better world. And these were all over the place. And so I had to take these pictures just that I would remember and that I could share with people. And then finally into Dachau. And to describe this place, it's indescribable. You can read there's 250,000 victims came through there. 45,000 people died there. That's the train station where they were often unloaded. It was just a horrible experience. Many of you have heard of many of the camps. You may not have realized the camps were this extensive. Arbeit macht frei, you've all heard of that. It's, work will make you free. That's what they put on those doors. This is Dachau itself. Those rocks are where the buildings for the prisoners used to be. Just a very terrible location. It's just you can feel it when you're there. It's indescribable. One thing real quick, on that building right there is actually a Protestant chapel, and they also have a Catholic church on the grounds there. What people don't realize is Dachau was the very first concentration camp, and it became the location where all the pastors, the ministers, and priests that the Nazis were trying to silence during their rise to power were sent here to Dachau. So it became kind of a place for all three faiths, two faiths, the Christian faith and Jewish faith, but Protestants and Catholics, they all come together to kind of honor those that were killed here. And Dachau was kind of their training camp for all the other camps, so it's a really particularly bad place. And that just kind of gives you a sense of some of the scale there. That, of course, is a gas chamber, which you can see the height. It's really even hard to even look at it now. And of course, now the Dachau gas chamber wasn't used, but the crematoriums were used. That crematorium there. And I think the last picture is our last night in Europe. Joey, who was always on video, ended up going upstairs. So what comes of this now after our trip is a couple things come to mind. I work with Officer Ron Gilbert all the time on honoring our veterans. And if you're a veteran here today, and many of you are veterans and many of you know veterans, I thank you so much. And this is coming from the kids and from the people we met. Thank you for your service. It's an absolute honor to work with people and be around people that have served their country like this. Officer Gilbert did, and still serves, and with me and him working together, we're trying to do a couple things. We're taking this and we're going to build on it. We're going to go back in a couple years, but we want to tie it in with Springfield's community. We want to find members of the community, members of the staff, members of the families that have relatives that served over there. And whether or not they can go themselves, we're going to go back and we're going to lay a wreath, or we're going to lay flowers, or have a poem read. We're going to do those things to kind of connect the school with history, because that's what we do in our social studies department all the time, is we try to make it live, or we try to make it very, very, very real. And for these kids, they to this day are blown away. They just stop what they're doing when you ask them about it, and so we're absolutely blown away about this trip. The second thing we're going to do, which I'm going to require some help on, is all these ideas, and the kids and I talked about it on the way back, is to create our own gardens here at Springfield High School, the 7 through 12 building. The first one we'd like to do is a Veterans Victory Garden, where we have all of our veterans who are Springfield graduates have a brick or a stone or something put in a garden somewhere to kind of honor those people that have served. We also wanted to do one, and this comes from the kids as well, for teachers that have served and teachers that have been a part of their lives. They were very complimentary of their teachers. And we've had some great teachers. I saw a picture a couple months ago of several of our teachers here that visited a friend of mine, Greg McBride's, his grave. I was one of his pallbearers. And we should remember these people. Kenny Vaughn, people that have worked here. So these ideas, we want to create gardens. A victory garden, something that lasts, something that people can say they were here at Springfield High School and they made a difference. Because everybody here does. We just need to remind people. Sometimes it's uncomfortable, but you have to do it. That's one of the things our kids learned. They loved even the suffering that they saw. They loved hearing about it because it makes it real. And so here we want to create some gardens. We know, I've already talked to some people at Canton Road Garden Center, and that the football practice field I had built with Clayton Wilson and the help of other people. We can do this to make a garden. I'm thinking in those islands in the front of the high school where the cars come through. Something really nice. I want to honor the students that have come through, graduating students, something that we can build on and look at. And again, we're going to go back. We're going to go back in a couple years. I'm going to have my kids going through one of these concentration camps. And it's tough, and I want it to be, and I want them to learn from it and then bring it home and share it with others. And I want to thank all my social studies friends that have always supported me on this, and my administration for letting me go. I went in October to some of these sites. I appreciate that very much. And I thank you again, and hopefully you guys will join me on the next trip.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Dave.
Okay.
All right, so next, this is Tawab and the cheerleaders.
I only have 3 of them tonight because we also volunteer with the youth program, so the rest of them are at practice coaching. So, okay, right around here. Okay, cool. All right. There we go. All right. So, good evening, everyone. Tonight we're here to talk about bringing stunting back to our cheer program here at SHS. It has been many, many years, 20 plus years, since we were able to use these kind of skills on our sidelines. And while I'm not exactly sure why most schools in our previous, it's kind of like a league thing, that they kind of stopped doing it, whether it was for safety or insurance or etc. However, I do know the world of cheerleading, even from when I was cheering, I'm going to be coming up on my 20th year reunion here pretty soon, so it's been a while, but especially in regards to like stunting and stunting safety, it's vastly different in just the last 5 or 10 years. It's changed. Through USA Cheer, and then NFSH is where we get a lot of our certifications from, so they're constantly updating every year. We have to get a new rule book because there's addendums or things changing to make the sport safer. So last spring, the cheer coaches in the MAC League, so all 8 of us, came together and we gave a presentation to the athletic directors at a meeting and our league commissioner on basically what stunting was, why it's beneficial for our athletes, and then what it would bring to our schools in general. So the presentation went very well. It was very well received by all of the ADs. They were very interested in implementing this at the programs. However, they decided that it would be good to go, but they kicked it back to each individual school to get approved by their school board because of insurance purposes. So that being the main reason why it would be, we're coming here to you guys tonight. So right now, 5 of the 8 schools in our MAC League are approved in stunting, and we're hoping to be the 6th to kind of get things rolling. These girls had a unique opportunity. I'm kind of skipping ahead here, but they had a unique opportunity. We go to UCA camp every summer, which is the Universal Cheerleaders Association, and they put on a 4-day camp for us. We've been going to those camps for years, and I was talking with our state rep director last year when we were at Bowling Green, and we were the only school at the camp that didn't stunt. Everyone else stunts. And she said, you guys are under our insurance umbrella, you are able to learn stunting while at camp, even if you're not a school that's approved. So we had the opportunity to do some of those basic beginner stunts with a thigh stand, shoulder sits, and going into that prep level, which I'm not going to have them demo today only because of the floor. So we've been doing a lot of safety training, and this floor is not safe for us to be demoing those types of stunts. So we have certain surfaces that we are allowed to stunt and not allowed to stunt on. But the girls have gotten some learning basics under their belt as far as what they have been learning. So kind of to explain stunt, a lot of times it's misinterpreted, it's misunderstood, or just not knowing a lot of information. The NCAA has, I think it's 2018, they implemented the sport of stunt, which is a little bit different than what we would be doing as a school cheer during football and basketball season stunting. So stunt is a spring sport, and there are some states in the U.S. that have it at the high school level, but a lot of it is at the college level. and our GMAC conference around this area, which would include Walsh and Malone and a couple other schools in Ohio, Ashland, they're all going to be having a stunt program. So, which is great opportunity for our girls, that if they're looking to go to those schools, they have something that offers them, whether it's the sideline cheer program or the stunt program that's in the spring. The spring stunt program is actually played like a match. So the two schools go head to head, and they have the same routines that they're performing, and they get points. Whoever performed that, there's 4 quarters, and whoever performed that quarter better gets those points. At the end of the match, who has the most points is the team that wins. Ashland University just won the GMAC, and they have competed nationally the last 2 years in that. So they have a really great growing program there for stunt, as well as our sideline cheerleading, which they do a lot of the basic stunts, which is what we are kind of asking to have approved for. But these girls, it's equipping them with the knowledge they'll need to then go to college, because us not being a stunting or building school is really kind of putting them at a disadvantage. Unless I have a team of standing fools, which not a lot of teams in this area have, they're really at a disadvantage of trying to get on like a D1 team. So I know a lot of our students go to Akron and Kent because they're close by. Those are D1 schools, and they're very hard to make their cheer team. You have to have very elite skills to be on that team. So stunting can be a very dangerous part of cheer, so that I don't want to sugarcoat it. It can be dangerous if it's not done properly. And so it's very necessary to be prepared that each person learns the correct positioning, their hand grips, and all of that of what they need to do to be safe and do it safely. As a coach, I've been certified by USA Cheer for stunting the last few years, and we have to retake our certification every year to make sure everything's up to date, like I said, with the safety changes that happen from year to year. And then we also have the USA Cheer and NFHS Spirit Rulebook that they hand out every year to coaches. So this spring and summer, I personally was able to take the time and attend several coaching clinics over the state of Ohio to just learn the basics myself. I did it very young when I was in youth cheerleading, but I haven't done it again since then. So I myself then getting comfortable spotting and doing techniques and learning how to teach these skills. And also I partnered with Walsh University's head stunt coach, Trisha Hart is her name. She happens to also be our state cheer director, which is awesome to have her as a resource here, and she lives locally actually in Springfield Township. So we love that we are able to use her a lot for things, and I'm always texting her and meeting up with her just to make sure, kind of see what I need to do and what I need to learn, because that's only more information than I can give these girls to support them. So a few of our cheerleaders were actually also able to attend the Walsh Stunt workout and practices to get familiar with some of these skills. Lily was one of them that we went and worked out with their Walsh Stunt team, and they were able to go up and be a flyer in a pyramid, or be a back spot or a base, different things like that. So they learned some different techniques and some different prep skills with the college team. So that was really awesome for the girls this spring to be able to do. Safety obviously is my #1 priority when it comes to anything that we do, whether it's tumbling or jumping or any skill that we do on the sideline, and that would then flow exactly for stunting as well. So this is why I myself have been putting in the work the last year, trying to get all of my ducks in a row of me feeling prepared before I even come to you guys to ask that you approve us for this. And it's much overdue request of implementing the STORA program, like I said, because it really does help these girls get better skills if they choose to pursue it at a higher level. Also, some other benefits would bring to the school or to the girls as a team, more sportsmanship, spirit raising on the sidelines, really getting our student section and building them up and getting them excited at the games. It's important learning opportunities. It teaches discipline. Cheer requires time and preparation and focus, and this only feeds more into it. The hard work, the teamwork, the physical fitness and mental strength. We have been in the weight room this summer, just doing some weight strength training, working with our athletic trainer, and then also a trainer that I met through my coaching seminars that was on the USA Cheer team. She's also been giving me some guidance as well. So just kind of basically building their confidence and their self-esteem to perform their skills. So another thing too, I brought on 2 new coaches this year, that have the wealth of knowledge when it comes to stunting, as they both came from All-Star Cheer, which I don't know if anyone's familiar with All-Star Cheer. You spend lots and lots of money. It's a great time and you get lots of opportunities to do, but a lot of your college cheerleadings have some type of All-Star Cheer experience because of the schools in Ohio are not giving that opportunity to the kids to be able to learn those elite skills. So that's why for them to be able to assist us in the process of teaching our kids these skills. And I'm very proud of the girls that I've coached that have went on to do, whether it's D1, D2, D3, cheerleading and or dance. However, every single one of those girls had some other type of secondary program that they were a part of to get to that level. So I feel that I helped them, but also they had help on the other side too. So all of those girls had that outside technical training, but I want to be able to give all of my team members a chance to feel prepared with the knowledge and the training from our program alone, that they can feel that they want to achieve that level if they aspire to do so. So they also too, something new with cheerleading, you used to not be able to get athletic scholarships. Usually if you're going to college for cheer, you have to try to get those academic scholarships only. They are offering now through NCAA, through the stunt program, athletic scholarships too. So that is something new this year that they approved. So there's many more ways for the girls to do that. We do have a girl that graduated last year that's going to be part of the Walsh Stunt team starting this fall, or this spring. So we're really excited for her. Let me make sure to. Okay, so we talked about that. So basically why it's important and what we would be doing as our program to implement it and how we would be implementing it. We would be looking to just do the sideline only right now. We wouldn't be competing at that level just because it would be so new. I would definitely like to ease into it to make sure we're well and prepared with the knowledge that we would need. NFHS does have a progression list that we start. So we start at a double base thigh stand, which I can tell you is a very simple basic skills that our youth cheerleading girls are already doing on their sidelines. So we started, did I not, at camp I said let's start with that first, right? We had to master every skill before we moved on to the next lift. So we did get to experience some shoulder sits at camp, and then we did go into some prep level and extensions where you're going to have the three girls underneath of the flyer, and she's extended up like this. I probably myself would not be doing that on the sideline this year with our team. We would say at that prep level, just because then we can use signs and pom-poms and stuff like that to get the crowd more engaged and involved that way. But we do have a very extensive progression list that we do follow. And I would, of course, wanted to start out with all of the basics. Competition down the road, maybe in a couple of years or something. That's just betting on how we're doing. Like I said, we're not going to demo today. I apologize, but the floor would not be safe. So just to kind of get how this could happen with what extra cost would it be, because I know with our financial situation right now, money is a huge point. Mr. Vaughn, we have sat down and talked over the last year of what actually that would cost. So the insurance that our program would need to have, because I learned this is something new I learned, was that not every sport in our athletic department is under the same tier of insurance. So we are on that middle tier, whereas football and wrestling are on that high tier, which is called like the catastrophic head injury insurance, which we would be then just at that same level with the football players or the wrestling. But I will say there are way less injuries in cheer than there are in football and wrestling, and the USA Cheer has the stats on their website to prove everything in many conversations that I've had, because we have so many safety precautions that we take. But that would be the insurance that we would need to bump it up a tier, and it costs about $10 to $15 a girl right now, and with our program that would cost us about $200 or less, which the athletic department has agreed, right? Yeah. I'm trying to say that. The athletic department has agreed to cover that cost for us. If they wouldn't, I would take it out of my own fundraising money for these girls to be able to have this opportunity. So it's not a huge expense that we would need to take on. But they're really excited about it, and they loved doing it when we were able to have those opportunities to learn those skills, and I just hope that we can continue to keep moving the program forward. We went to states last year. We're looking forward to hopefully qualifying for states again this year, and just to keep growing the program onward and upward. So thank you all very much.
Thank you. We will have that on the board agenda for next month. Okay? Yeah, we thought they were going to demonstrate, but then Bethany said, no, the floor would be,
They didn't have their insurance.
yeah, we don't have the insurance yet for it, so we weren't going to take that chance.
Be a hard landing.
Yeah, it would have been a very hard landing, yes.
Now, board informal, I would just like to thank, my part is thank Mr. Bosco and the cheerleaders and for their presentations, and I don't know about you, but I'm kind of looking forward to Mr. Bosco's next trip over there. I'm seeing about going, that's an awesome experience for our kids. So thank you. Mr. Ray?
I the same way. Mr. Bosco did a great thing there.
Yeah.
And I think he's still doing great things, so look forward to seeing what's going on in the future.
Perfect.
Mr. Howe?
Thank you, Cynthia. Interesting trip, Mr. Bosco. As I've said before, I had an uncle that spoke German in the church that he grew up with and then served in the armed forces in the transportation division in one of the units that he served in. And they did overrun some of the concentration camps, and he ended up bringing pictures home. Unfortunately, his dad got a hold of him and burned him because it bothered him so much. He was mad at his father, and I never knew my grandfather. He died in 50, I was born in 59. That he said, "Dad, these are proof that this thing happened, that these atrocities happened." So, live history. Thank you for taking that trip. On another note, not much happening at the State House, except we all know about property taxes. So in the Senate Herschel Craig introduced property taxes on qualifying owner-occupied homes and names, and this act is called the Property Tax Relief and Local Government Support Act. That is in the state Senate. Look for that to make its rounds. Last month, I also talked about writing the letters, and I've started to write mine. Have you started to write yours? So State Senator Vernon Sykes, I'm writing to try to understand the outcome of the biennial budget. So I'm going to ask you folks, have you started your letters? Can't do this alone. We can't do this alone as administration, as board. Need your help. Can't do it alone. Other than that, the school year is going to begin quickly, and summer went fast, and welcome back, all of you. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart.
Mr. Petrie?
I would just like to say that I'm very proud of the education that I got in the Springfield schools. And my graduating class of 1973 celebrated 50 years since graduation over this past weekend. So Springfield kind of runs true through me.
I'd like to thank Mr. Bosco. I've been to most of the places that he went when we were stationed in Germany. Many of you guys will drive to Myrtle Beach, Florida. When you're in Germany, you can drive everywhere that he just put up there and see everything. As a veteran that served in the 101st, it's amazing. I take my kids out of school on Veterans Day because sadly we don't have anything that we do for our veterans. So I'm very big on getting that put into our school. Yeah, we've always taken our kids out to go see what's going on out there and to honor fellow veterans. So I support that 100%, to bring our community together even more. So, yeah, seeing the cheerleaders, I know they left, but we've gone to quite a few competitions, and they are usually always, well, they are always out of the stunt. So that would be neat to be able to put them in. So other than that, that's all I got.
Thank you. Okay, at this time, it's recommended that the board approve the minutes of the regular meeting of July 18, 2023, and those have been included in the agenda exhibit.
Make a motion.
I'll second.
It's been moved in second that the recommendation be voted on. Mr. Adams?
Mrs. Frola,
Yes.
Ms. Terry,
Yes.
Mr. Ray,
Yes.
Mr. Hofer,
Yes.
Mr. Petrie.
Yes.
The motion passed. Okay, before we go to item 7, I need to kind of fall on the sword. I did not familiarize myself well enough with the board policy about what is actually, about holding to the citizens' comments on agenda items only. The last 2 meetings, we we didn't do it that way. There are 2 opportunities for citizens to speak. The first one is on agenda items only, and that is number 7. Then the agenda items that are on other topics, the comments or speaking on other topics will occur on item 25. So, but I take full responsibility for that. I usually read up and know what I'm doing, and obviously I screwed up, but I wanted to give people that were here a chance, and I want to go back to following adopted board policy. All right, are there any citizens' comments on agenda items?
Hello, my name is Raylene Craig, and I live at 6460 Southview Drive, New Franklin, Ohio. As you can tell by my address, I am not a Springfield resident, but I have taught kindergarten, proudly representing this district for 37 years. I consider this to be my second home, and I can no longer remain silent about the continuing issues facing all our district's teachers.
Mrs. Craig?
School board members,
If it is not germane to one of the items, then I'll ask you to wait till item number 25.
it talks about negotiations.
Pardon?
Executive session.
I'm sorry?
He's saying that it's, because the executive session talks about negotiations, that it is on the agenda.
Oh, I didn't know that executive session was part of that, so.
I did that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Manager.
Okay.
So, go ahead.
Thank you. School board members have commented on the fact that the teachers only attend board meetings when negotiations occur. Our response to that is that we were hired to teach, not attend board meetings. Fortunately, most of the time, we do not have a need to attend board meetings. We are happy to focus on teaching and learning. Unfortunately, right now, we are here to make the point that we are looking for a fair contract and a fair wage. If you want teachers at meetings, we ask that you devote yourself to spending time in our schools. While I appreciate Mr. Hofer and Mrs. Monachino stopping by my door for a 2 to 3 minute conversation, I am asking board members to get a true picture. I want to extend an invitation to all of you to spend a morning or an afternoon in the classrooms to get a first-hand look at the challenges we face daily and the successes that we have despite these difficulties. I'd really like to see you visit on the 90-degree days when the temperatures are 90+ degrees on the bottom floor and 10 to 12 degrees higher in the second floor classrooms. Mr. Hofer, you have been very vocal in your unwillingness to adjust the school calendar, stating that children need instructional days above the state requirement so that they will perform better on standardized tests. It has been brought to my attention that some surrounding schools have higher test scores, but attend fewer days than we do. Studies show that increased school days do not solely equate to higher test scores. Have you taken into consideration that your schools are not providing the interventions that were promised? Our struggling learners desperately need this help, and the literacy teachers are constantly being pulled to act as substitutes. In this scenario, it affects the learning of all children involved. Are you aware that the literacy specialists are trying to teach the daily lesson plan and service the needs of the lowest achieving students simultaneously in the same classroom? When this happens, no student needs are being met. Mrs. Terry, you have repeatedly spoken about the need for the teachers to step up to help us pass this levy, and my response is, we are tired. Except for the most recent effort, I personally have helped with every levy campaign since I was hired in 1986. I have made telephone calls, written personal messages to parents, placed levy information on mailboxes. I have gone door to door with talking points and even hosted coffee clutches with Mr. Archer in community members' homes. And trust me when I say this, I did not do this alone. My fellow teachers have stepped up time and time again. We are representing and advocating for our classrooms and our students 365 days a year. We are attending sporting events, community activities, making personal financial contributions to the levy campaigns, and even helping our needy students with monetary donations. But again, we are tired and we are unable to correct the constant missteps, poor decisions, and lack of strategic planning from this and previous school boards. We, like all of you, want this levy to pass, but regardless of the levy, your teachers deserve a fair contract and a fair wage. We are repeatedly told that we are in a people-centered organization, and perception is essential. The current perception from this staff is that we do not matter. We are continually asked to do more with less, and we are constantly stepping up to do what is right for our students. Now is the time for you to invest in your staff. Spending precious district funds on extravagant renovations, upgrades, and new equipment is not necessary, and it's not what this district needs now. Respectfully, we ask that you get your own house in order before you try to fix ours. To be clear, we understand that these are challenging times and that financially everyone is struggling. However, please do not confuse our understanding with complacency. We are ready to work together for a fair and equitable contract that is sustainable for both sides. Thank you so much for your attention.
Are there any other citizens' comments on agenda items? Seeing none, then we will move to number 8, payments of bills. It is recommended that the board approve payment of bills for the month of July pending audit.
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and second that the board approve payment for the bills.
Ms. Terry?
Yes.
Mrs. Frola?
Yes.
Mr. Petrie?
Yes.
Mr. Ray?
Yes.
Mr. Hofer?
Yes.
I didn't hear you, I'm sorry.
Motion passed. Number 9, payments of bills then and now. It is recommended that the board approve a resolution for payments of bills per Ohio Revised Code Section 5705.41D.
I'll make a motion.
Do we have a motion?
I made one.
I'll second.
Sorry. All right, it's been moved and second that the board approve a resolution of payments of bills per Ohio Revised Code. Mr. Adams?
Mr. Ray?
Yes.
Mr. Petrie?
Yes.
Ms. Terry?
Yes.
Mrs. Frola?
Yes.
Mr. Hofer?
Yes.
Motion passed. Number 10 is acceptance of financial reports. It's recommended that the board accept the financial reports from the treasurer for July 2023, and these were exhibits 4, 5, and 6 attached to the agenda.
So
I'll make a
moved.
motion. Second.
It's been moved and second that the board accept the financial reports From the treasurer for July 2023, Mr. Adams?
Mr. Hofer,
Yes.
Mrs. Frola,
Yes.
Mr. Petrie,
Yes.
Ms. Terry,
Yes.
Mr. Ray.
Yes. I came here, so I have to move.
Oh, okay.
Everything's all right.
Okay, do you want to say anything about what we just did? Moving on?
Yeah, I'm
All
gonna
right,
talk about
number
it myself.
11, personnel. It is recommended that the board accept and approve the following personnel items. 11.1, a retirement resignation. They accept the retirement resignation of classified employee Laura Langsdale, effective November 1, 2023. 11.2, resignation. Accept the resignation of classified employee Christy Hawk, effective 2023-24 school year. 11.3, approve a reduction of the following classified position due to staffing need reasons, effective for the 2023 school year, and that is one educational assistant at Schropp Intermediate. It's an office position of 2 hours. 11.4, employment. Employ Abigail Ray as a 100% intervention specialist teacher per the negotiated contract agreement pending proper licensure, and that's effective for the 2023-24 school year. 11.5, employ Julie Welbart as a 100% family and consumer science teacher per the negotiated agreement pending proper licensure, effective for the 2023-24 school year. 11.6, employ or reassign classified employee Tatiana Ramovich as a 6.5-hour educational assistant in the office at Spring Hill Elementary per the negotiated agreement pending proper licensure, and that's effective 23-24 school year. 11.7, employment. Employ the Patricia Mayo as a classified substitute per the negotiated agreement pending a proper licensure, effective the first day assigned. 11.8, athletic supplemental contracts. Approve the following supplemental contracts for the 23-24 school year per the negotiated agreement pending proper licensure. Michelle Hanna, 712, athletic coordinator. Jody Burgess, 712, athletic coordinator.
I'll make a motion.
Second then.
It's been moved in second that the above personnel items just read be approved.
Ms. Terry,
Yes.
Mr. Petrie,
Yes.
Mrs. Frola,
Yes.
Mr. Hofer,
Yes.
Mr. Ray.
Yes.
Okay, the motion is approved. Number 12, Personnel 2. Reassign classified employee Tammy Hofer as a 6-hour transportation dispatcher per the negotiated agreement pending proper licensure, effective 2023-24 school year.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
It's been moved and second that we accept the reassignment of Tammy Hofer as a 6-hour transportation dispatcher.
Ms. Terry,
Yes.
Mr. Ray,
Yes.
Petrie,
Yes.
Ms. Frola,
Yes.
Mr. Hofer.
Abstain?
Katie, has been moved, or it's been approved that number 12.1 has been passed. Number 13, a service agreement. Village of Lakemore, with the Village of Lakemore Police Department. It is recommended that the board approve a service agreement with the Village of Lakemore Police Department to provide an attendance coordinator for the 23-24 school year. And again, this exhibit is attached to the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All right, it has been moved and second that the board approve a service agreement for an attendance officer for the village of, with the village of Lakemore.
Mr. Ray.
Yes.
Mr. Hofer.
Yes.
Mrs. Frola.
Yes.
Ms. Petrie.
Yes.
Ms. Terry.
Yes.
All right, the motion is passed. Number 14, it is recommended that the board approve a resolution regarding complimentary passes and waiving payment of any entry fee to events for the 23-24 school year. And those details are in Exhibit A.
Make a motion.
I'll second.
It's been moved and second that the board approve a resolution regarding complimentary passes and waiving payment for entry fee to the events. Are there, we have to vote on it first, right?
Well, no, this is just something that we do every year. And, you know, coaches, administrators, coaches, family members, board members, district employees, district residents, senior citizens. Our district, our conference, Kevin, we allow all senior citizens to come in free, do we not? For home and away, so all our conferences do that. Okay. And the fire, police, safety officials, if they're working the event, and booster members or volunteer parent can have one guest enter if they're working, or they sign in at the pass gate.
Any other comments or questions? Mr.
Ms.
Adams?
Terry.
Yes.
Mr. Ray.
Yes.
Mr. Hofer. Mrs. Frola.
Yes.
Ms. Petrie.
Yes.
Okay, the motion to approve resolutions regarding complimentary passes and waiving payments has passed. Number 15, OSBA delegate and alternate delegate. It is necessary to appoint a delegate and an alternate to the OSBA annual business meeting in November of '23. I'm asking other board members if anyone would like to be the delegate. Okay, Mr. Hofer? Alternate? Okay, since I will be okay. You want to be alternate?
I looked at her and she's like, what?
She can settle out lately, doesn't she?
Oh,
Yeah. All right, Mr. Hofer and Mrs. Terry?
Hey, you can't.
All right,
Okay.
do we have to vote?
We got to do
Yeah.
this first,
I'll make a motion.
thank you.
Yes, we have to vote. Second?
We need a second.
I'll second.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Petrie.
Yes.
Mrs. Frola.
Yes.
Mr. Hofer.
Yes.
Mr. Ray.
Yes.
Ms. Terry.
Yes.
It is passed, decided that Mr. Hofer will be our delegate and Mrs. Terry will be the alternate. Number 9, payment of, excuse me,
Let's not go
Going backwards.
No, please.
I can do this. Number 16, the 23-24 school bus routes. It is recommended that the board approve the bus routes for the 2023-24 school year and authorize the superintendent or designee to make changes as necessary during the 2023-24 school year to address enrollment changes and safety issues. And those are exhibits 9, 9A, and 9B attached.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the bus routes be adopted as shown in the exhibits.
Ms. Terry.
Yes.
Mrs. Frola.
Yes.
Mr. Hofer.
Yes.
Mr. Petrie.
Yes.
Mr. Ray.
Yes.
Okay, the motion to adopt bus routes as shown in the exhibit has passed. Number 17, a service agreement with the Ohio Alliance Billing LLC. It is recommended that the board approve a service agreement with the Ohio Alliance Building LLC for the purpose of assisting and managing the district's Ohio Medicaid school program to procure federal Medicaid reimbursements for Medicaid-eligible services provided by the district. And that is Exhibit 10 on your agenda.
I'll make a motion. Did you?
I'll second.
Okay, Mr. Ray, you'll second, okay.
Okay, second.
It's been moved and seconded to accept the service agreement with the Ohio Alliance Billing LLC.
So what this is we charge for some of our services, Medicaid, to get Medicaid reimbursement, I think speech and,
Speech, school psychologist, occupational therapy, and physical therapy.
and it's a very cumbersome
Yes.
billing process, so with Ohio Alliance, they will make sure that we get every federal money that we were supposed to get from it.
Any questions? Okay, Mr. Adams?
Mr. Petrie,
Yes.
Mr. Hofer,
Yes.
Ms. Terry,
Yes.
Mr. Ray,
Yes.
Mrs. Frola.
Yes. The motion is passed to accept the Ohio Alliance Billing Program. Number 18, student handbooks. It is recommended that the board approve the student handbooks for Springfield High School Junior High, for Schropp Intermediate, and for Spring Hill Elementary for the 23-24 school year. And all three of those handbooks are posted to the agenda.
So moved then.
Second.
Thank you for all the hard work.
Thanks to the principals and to anybody else who helped with it. One of the things that we are going to start working on for next year is making the handbooks align a little bit more from building to building, so it's easier to follow and where things are at. We started a little bit with between Schropp and junior high, high school, using some of the same language, and so there's a little bit more continuity. Good.
Mrs. Frola,
Yes.
Mr. Hofer,
Yes.
Mr. Ray,
Yes.
Mr. Petrie,
Yes.
Ms. Terry.
Yes.
Okay, the motion is passed to accept the handbooks as posted. Number 19, it is recommended that the board approve the updated athletic code of conduct effective for the 23-24 school year.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the board approve the updated athletic code of conduct as published with along with the agenda for the 23-24 school year.
And Kevin, tell me if I'm wrong, we haven't updated it in a while, so this was just cleaning it up a little bit. And, one of the things that we wanted to do is have something where all the athletics are following, somewhat of the same rules. They each have their own sport rules, but this is like the overarching code of conduct for it. So thanks, Kevin, for all your work on that.
Any questions before we vote?
No,
Okay, Mr. Adams?
Ms. Terry,
Yes.
Mr. Petrie,
Yes.
Mrs. Frola,
Yes.
Mr. Hofer,
yes.
Mr. Ray.
Yes.
Okay, the motion has passed to accept the updated athletic code of conduct for next year. Number 20 is policy review, and there is a lengthy list. I won't read all of them unless someone would like to hear all of them. We're just reading titles. This is your first reading.
Yeah, so this is the first reading of it. It'll be approved in seconds right now.
Correct.
And then we will do the second reading next month.
Motion?
There should be no motion, it's just no reading.
Oh, we don't need.
Do we have to motion and second this one?
No.
Oh, okay.
All right. Number 21, treasurer's report. Mr. Adams?
Dustin, you gonna put it up?
I came in, the famous Scouts kid Jaws, I don't know, other marines, but I think it was us, we're gonna need a bigger boat, because I didn't all got in the mail, I know I got one, my son's got one, and nobody's really happy. It's not good, and it's not news that we all love, but the deal with the Summit County values this year is unprecedented because of the changes made by the tax commissioner in Columbus. Okay? The auditors throughout the state, all 81 of the county auditors, received a directive from the Ohio tax commissioner that you will raise your property values. We were fortunate that Kristen Scalise negotiated down a little bit, down to 31.4% increase. That does not mean your taxes are going to go up 31.4%. What it does mean is, as of right now, I wish I could tell you more, but when I get it, I will tell you, is the way the process plays out is we will find out December of 23 to January of 24, the impact to the school district and everybody throughout the state of Ohio. Because what will happen is the Columbus people that work under the Ohio tax commissioner will set our effective millage rates, okay? That information will go up to the Summit County Auditor's Office, who will produce the document that I use to estimate our revenue in future years. Unfortunately, we're right in the beginning of the process. We're obviously going to have people that are going to contest their values, okay? My advice is look at the value, ask yourself one question. If I had to sell the house today, could I get more than what the current value is stated? Most of the answer would be yes, even though it went up. It would be yes. I know of people that have challenged it, and the auditor came out and they got, it went up even farther. So I'm just saying, look at your data. It's out there in the Summit County. I don't know if you've all seen it, but you can go out, type your name in, pull up your information on your house, and look at the details. That's the important. Look at how many bedrooms they have on file, how many bathrooms. If you have a deck and they don't have a deck on it, that's an issue you're going to have to deal with. That's very common, especially if you've been in the house a long period of time. Okay, but I think it's important to talk about this because there are just so many unknowns right now, and I wish there was more knowns than unknowns. But what I can tell you is there is going to be an impact, okay? We just don't know what. When we get that information, I'll get up here and talk about it, and I'll also talk about it in the Finance Committee. Other than that, thanks.
Central office.
Good evening. First of all, thank you for approving the bus routes this evening. This information will be distributed to parents starting tomorrow through email. We are working with a new system as we brought transportation in-house this year. Required us to basically start over with routing. So Mrs. Hamilton and the transportation department's been working through most of the summer, working with this new routing program, training and learning it and setting up the routes. So there, will be some adjustments and growing pains that we're going through, but those routes will be emailed to all parents tomorrow. And excited to announce that as the school year gets started and a little closer to school, as we get all the bugs worked out, we'll be releasing a parent app that they'll be able to see their bus route information as well as receive updates. If a route's going to be running late that day, we can easily send that communication out through the app and also through email and such there. But that app will give push alerts, like you receive news alerts on your phone. You'll receive those about buses being late and hopefully reduce some concern with parents when buses are running late. We can communicate that and be proactive about that communication and keep parents in the loop of what's going on. This past week, we also started some training with our staff on Stop the Bleed. We've installed Stop the Bleed kits throughout the buildings and athletic facilities, and these kits will be available in the event of a medical emergency that we can respond internally and help stop bleeding even before paramedics arrive. And the training's been offered. Lieutenant Bryce Hughes from Lakemore Fire Department has graciously volunteered his time to come in and train our staff on what's provided in those kits. He is a certified Stop the Bleed instructor, so, and we'll be offering, continue to offer training to staff as we start the school year, and make that available to more staff. Roosevelt, the abatement continues. We are now complete with the second and third floor abatement. They're moving on to the gym next week. So they're right on schedule. We're about 50% of the way through the abatement, which is scheduled to be completed about mid-September, and we'll move on to demo. Demo's already selectively started with some of the old playground equipment that was left over and things like that. Today we learned a little bit of I find exciting news that a resident contacted us that there is a time capsule was buried in 1985 near the flagpole at Roosevelt there. So we're going to look into that and try and find out some more information about that. It was not something we were aware of. So if anybody, community, staff, anybody knows anything about that, please get in touch with me so we can learn a little bit more about that. But we'll do what we can to find out. I think that would be a nice piece to see some history from that building as it's being demolished there. So, and then final piece of update is something that came from House Bill 33, the state budget bill there. For students who qualify under federal guidelines for reduced price meals, we will still continue to qualify students under the federal guidelines as either free or reduced, but the state budget bill has the provision in it that the state will cover the reduced price charges for those students that qualify there. So 30 cents for breakfast, 40 cents for lunch that they have paid in the past, the state will now cover that. So students that are covered under either reduced or free meals will all receive free meals for this upcoming school year. So I'm excited to announce that, and there'll nothing that families have to do. That'll just be free for them now. So, any questions?
So I do. The app that you talked about, is that just for bus or is that a general school?
That'll be specific to bus. It's through that program.
Recently, the administrative team presented on chronic absenteeism and the journey that Springfield has been through in order to reduce our chronic absenteeism in our school buildings. Somehow, some way, the ODE has gotten a hold of our presentation, is extremely excited about the results that we got, and is reaching out to Springfield in order to find a way to showcase all the work that has been done in the district. So that's really exciting. Usually when ODE contacts you, it's not good news. This one was.
Last month at the board meeting, I talked a little bit about remembering to sign up for kindergarten and preschool. Well, somebody got the message about preschool for sure, because I'm excited that it looks like this school year, probably in the first time in about 5 to 6 years, that we will have 3 teachers teaching preschool, both AM and PM, and we anticipate all 6 sessions will be full. So that is great news for our students that have early intervention and that need that support and maybe haven't been getting that support. You know, the past few years, a few people have called and said, oh, I think my kid might need some extra help, and they're about to turn 5. So we're glad that they called and reached out, and then we will also have the typical peers to match them. So those students will be getting early access to early literacy and early math by our great preschool teachers. So we have 28 screenings scheduled for next week.
Wow, nice. Real quickly, last month, I think it was, we announced that Andrea Novicki was one of the top 11 teachers. It has been announced that she is now one of the top 4. So there's 4 teachers left, and we should be hearing soon if she's going to make it to the Ohio Teacher of the Year. But being 4 in the top 4, it's amazing. We have been getting a lot of emails and phone calls from people all over the state congratulating Springfield for having Andrea as a top 4, so that's exciting. Piggybacking a little bit on Mary, yes, I'm very proud of our administration for the chronic absenteeism and all the hard work that everybody here has done to get our numbers down to where we were at. I know we've had districts from everybody, it was mostly Summit County, some Portage County, some Stark County. They have been contacting us quite a bit to ask us about how did we make the changes that we've done, and want us to help present to their staff on chronic absenteeism. So we're definitely leading the way here in Springfield on that. And then finally, the last week before school, just like you guys, we have been running ragged and moving hard, and looking forward to another school year, so we're excited. That's it, yeah.
Thank you. Item number 24 is items worthy of your note. I'll quickly read down the list. On August 21st is the staff's first day with a convocation at 8 a.m. Also on the 21st, Spring Hill Elementary, 1st through 3rd will have an open house, 4:30 to 5:30. August 21st, Schropp Intermediate, 4 through 6, open house between 5:30 and 6:30 p.m. On August 23rd, grades 1 through 6, 7, and 9 will be the students' first day. August 24, grades 8, 10, 11, and 12, students' first day. August 25th, Spring Hill Kindergarten open house at 1:30 p.m. August 28th, kindergarten last names beginning A through G, their first day. Also on the 28th, preschool open house 10 through 11 a.m. On August 29, kindergarten last names beginning H through Q, that's their first day. On August 29, preschool's first day. August 30, kindergarten last names beginning R through Z will have their first day. And August 31st, first day for all kindergartens, regardless of their last name, to attend together as one. On September 4th, Labor Day, there will be no school. September 19th will be the next regular meeting of the Springfield Board of Education at 6 p.m. here at the Administration Center.
And on the Southside Leader, there was a full page, so if you aren't sure about the, for any of this community out there, if you're not sure about the dates, there was a full page of all this information for them to know.
It was very clear. All right, now, item number 25, we'll have citizens' comments, and we ask the citizens try to limit to 5 minutes in duration. Are there any citizens' comments at this time? Okay, seeing none, then it's recommended that the board go into executive session at this time to prepare for preparing for, conducting, or reviewing negotiations or bargaining sessions with employees.
There'll be no action taken.
Motion?
There won't be any, when we return, there will be no action taken.
Ms. Terry?
Yes.
Mr. Ray?
Yes.
Mr. Hofer?
Yes.
Mrs. Frola?
Yes,
Mr. Petrie?
Yes.
okay, then this part of the meeting is adjourned and we'll move to executive session. and I'll try to walk that far. Let me see if I can do it.